We are live.
All right, at 5:03, I'm calling to order the Finance Committee meeting for this evening, April 28th. If we could get a roll call, please.
Certainly, Madam Chair. Councillor Cassett. Here. Councillor Lindell. Councillor Faulkner.
Here.
Councillor Lee Garcia.
Here.
Chair Romeroworth.
I am here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Okay, and do we have any changes to tonight's agenda?
No changes from staff.
All right, is there a motion? Motion to approve. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for tonight. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? That motion passes. We do have two items pulled from consent. And Director Oster, they are items Q and item T, correct?
Correct, Madam Chair.
Okay, anything else the committee would like to hear?
Motion to approve as amended.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as amended. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? That motion passes. Are we doing the recognition?
Yes, Madam.
Okay, terrific. Then we'll go to you, Director Oster.
Madam Chair, it is my pleasure this evening to recognize Christy Miera. Christy is here to my left. Christy is one of the superstars in the finance department. We have a number, and Christy is definitely on the list of people that we can always go to. I have some, background information to share about Christy, but the first thing that I want to say is that Christy is always willing to jump in and help, which I appreciate so much. So that's one of the many things that makes Christy a go-to person in the finance department. So Christy is from New Mexico. She was born and raised in northern New Mexico. Her mother is an elementary school teacher in Espanola, and her father owns a construction business. Christy started her career with the city as, as a contract worker in the cashier's office during the pandemic. And we were fortunate to have her become an official city employee in August of 2023 with the purchasing division. So we are really, really excited that Christy decided to stay on here at the city and learn the purchasing world, which you all hear a lot about. It's very important to our operations, both within finance and throughout the city. Christy has progressed in the purchasing division by helping to develop the consolidated purchasing memo that combined the three different documents, the memo, the procurement checklist, and the summary of contracts. Christy was instrumental in helping combine that all into one document, into the current purchasing memo that we're using today. Christy is very talented when it comes to training. She also developed our procurement roadmap, and she has made a number of training videos. Christy is currently helping us implement a new SharePoint tracking tool to help us track contracts and submissions to purchasing more efficiently and provide more visibility into the process and what stage different items are at in the process. So Christy's been working with IT on that. One thing that you'll probably catch on to here is that Christy is a solution-oriented person. She sees a problem and she comes up with a solution. So another wonderful reason why we're so lucky to have Christy in purchasing. So in addition to working with IT on that SharePoint tool that we're rolling out, Christy has created a new process to alleviate the strain and difficulties that we were having in Teams in tracking our purchasing submissions. So in addition to having talent and expertise in the purchasing area, Christy is also an excellent graphic designer. For those of you that have seen the purchasing roadmap, she's very good at translating technical information into a form that's usable, even for folks that aren't maybe experts in that area. Christy also consistently brings me ideas and suggestions, really great creative ideas for how we can improve morale and engage the staff in the finance department as a whole, not just purchasing. Some of the great ideas list that Christy has come up with. Christy is a fierce competitor, so I can always count on her to come up with awesome games and then win a lot of those awesome games because she's Christy's just a lot of fun. But in terms of staff engagement and morale, we've had a whole range of great ideas from coming up with a cookbook of recipes submitted by staff, activities for us to do as a group, team building. Christy proposed the idea of having a retreat for the finance department team. So we're planning on doing that this summer. We're hoping to do that in August. So I could go on for a long time about all of the things that fall into the great ideas from Christy category. But one of the themes there is around staff appreciation and engagement. So it's really special for me to be able to recognize her here tonight for her contributions. And as I mentioned, Christy approaches every project and every request with enthusiasm, positivity, energy, and a lot of great ideas. I would like to share something that her supervisor, Travis Dutton-Leda, who nominated Christy for recognition this evening, sent as well. He was not able to be here in person, but I do have a write-up. And Travis says, I'd like to recognize Christy Miera for the outstanding work she does every day in the purchasing division. Christy consistently goes above and beyond. She's someone I can count on to step up whenever and wherever she's needed. No hesitation, no excuses, just a steady commitment to getting the job done right. Christy brings a level of dedication and initiative that sets the tone for those around her. Her professionalism, positivity, and willingness to support both our team and departments across the city do not go unnoticed. She's made herself an invaluable part of the operation, not just through the work she does, but through the way she does it. It's a privilege to have Christy on our team. Her growth and impact in such a short time have been impressive, and I look forward to what she'll continue to accomplish. Thank you, Christy, for all that you do. And I really just want to echo what Travis said there. I think Christy is a rising star in city government, and I expect you'll be seeing her in the future. So with that, Christy, I would love to present you with this certificate of appreciation, which says, the following award is given to Christy Miera in appreciation for performance, service, and dedication to the city of Santa Fe. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you all for listening to the spew. I also made the finance birthday song. Just want to throw that out there.
Wait, don't go away.
Don't
Don't
go
go
away.
away. Counselor Faulkner.
Okay, I love that you're a get to yes person. And because you're a get to yes person, I need a yes on getting me the cookbook.
We are working on it, Counselor, and we will make sure you get a copy.
Counselor Cassett.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Thank you, Chrissy, for being here. And thank you for all the work that you do. I know purchasing is one of those areas that it has been, it's a challenge. And I know that this team, I've already heard from Travis and from Emily that you all have really been instrumental in trying to find new ways to do this thing that is so integral to the city. So I really want to express our appreciation for all of that work. And thank you so much for being here today.
Counselor Lindell.
Yeah, thanks. It's always good to have someone that's looking for games and to kind of push the team on, and it makes a difference. Makes a difference. It makes us feel like we belong and that we are this community and that we're special. Thanks. And I like it that your mom's an elementary school teacher. Oh, my. Well, thank you very much.
My mom was a kindergarten teacher too, so good training.
And I know how traumatic that first day can be. So thank you for for that work. Really appreciate it. Congratulations. It sounds like it's very well-earned recognition and just keep it up because it's great for morale. So thank you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you so much, Christy. We really appreciate all that you do.
Woohoo!
Plus, we have to get a little shout out to Spania.
Okay, we have two items pulled from consent. The first one is item Q, request for approval of amendment number 1 to item number 24-0582 with Wells Fargo Bank to extend the term of the master banking services agreement through September 26, 2034. Director Oster, you're listed here as a staff for this. I don't know if you had anything you wanted to say about it, or Counselor Lindell, if you wanted her to say anything, or you want to just jump right into your question.
Certainly, Madam Chair, and Councillor Lindell, thank you for pulling this item so we have an opportunity to talk about it. So the city currently uses Wells Fargo Bank as our fiscal agent bank. And we came before you in September of last year to present a new contract with Wells Fargo to continue in that capacity. Wells Fargo has been the city's fiscal agent bank for approximately a decade. Was what I was able to confirm. The relationship may go back further than that. So this proposed amendment is a continuation of an existing relationship that the city has with Wells Fargo. And I do want to clarify, because this is called the fiscal agent bank or the master banking services agreement. I wanted to provide some information about what that means. And it is very different from the fiscal agent that we have for capital outlay. So I want to distinguish it from that. At a very high level, Wells Fargo is our partner on a number of our financial transactions. So our banking services, our ACH, when we send out vendor payments by check or ACH, both our depository accounts and our payment accounts are held at Wells Fargo Bank. We have investment services through Principal Financial Group that are through the relationship with Wells Fargo Bank. Wells Fargo is our merchant service provider. So when we accept payments by credit card, those payments coming into the city's bank accounts are cleared through the Wells Fargo Payment Gateway. And so the relationship is very comprehensive. One other service that Wells Fargo provides for us is our purchase card program. So the range of services that we're receiving from Wells Fargo is very broad and really integral to both the way that we pay vendors or make payments on behalf of the city and to the way that we receive payments. Now, one thing that I wanted to note about the structure of this agreement is that we receive a credit from Wells Fargo Bank for the merchant services business, which is related to the deposits that come into the city when somebody uses their credit card to pay. And that credit offsets the fees that Wells Fargo charges us for the other services. So in effect, we don't actually pay Wells Fargo. They provide us with these credits for the merchant services business that offset our other services that are provided through Wells Fargo. So that's a brief description of the relationship and the services that Wells Fargo Bank is providing to us. I wanted to touch on this amendment a little bit, just to call out a couple of things about this. So when we did this procurement, we struggled for quite a while to get an agreement in place. Even though Wells Fargo continued to provide fiscal agent banking services to the city, there was a period of time where we didn't have a contract in place. And that was both out of sync with our procurement requirements that require us to have a contract in place, and also exposed the city to price increases and other things that we're now protected from by having a contract in place. So in 2022, before I joined the city, there was an RFP that was issued, and there was not ultimately a contract awarded off of that RFP. There was transition going on, and for some reasons that I understand and others that I'm not sure, we just never got to the point where a contract was brought forward for consideration. So we had that period of time where we didn't have a contract, and a decision was made in order to address that issue, primarily the procurement issue related to not having a contract. We identified a contract that was put in place between Wells Fargo Bank, excuse me, and the city of Farmington, and we were able to utilize that as our procurement method. The city of Farmington had done an RFP, and we were able to use that as our procurement method. So when we brought the contract forward in September of last year, it was based on that procurement that was done by the city of Farmington that we were utilizing as our procurement method. One of the big advantages of getting that contract executed was that we avoided a potential change in the fee structure and an increase that would have gone into effect in January. So by having that contract approved back in September, which we really appreciate, we were able to avoid that. Now, because we used that Farmington procurement as our procurement method, we had to adhere to the terms in their contract, and the first year was very short. The Farmington contract expired on April 30th, so our contract had to expire on April 30th as well. The proposed amendment would extend the relationship potentially with Wells Fargo out to the maximum amount of time that's allowed for this type of service. It's a general service, so it allows up to 10 years. However, this contract is structured, this amendment is structured so that it is a 1-year extension that automatically renews for up to 8 additional years. However, there is a stipulation that either party can provide notice during a 30-year window, or 30-day window before that renewal, that we don't want to continue that relationship. Although the proposed amendment has a long term, there are annual opportunities for the city to make a different decision if there was a desire to pursue changing the fiscal agent. In terms of what that process might look like, and the approval of the amendment that's before the committee this evening doesn't affect this path that I'm about to describe. At any time, the city could choose to issue an RFP for fiscal agent banking services for all of those services that I described that Wells Fargo is providing to us, and go through the procurement process and select a different partner to work with for these services. Now, after the procurement process is done, there would need to be a transition as well, because the nature of the services that Wells Fargo is providing to us are very extensive and very integrated into our operations. So my estimate, including the procurement process and a transition to a new fiscal agent, is that if the city made that decision to go down that path and change fiscal agents, it would take 18 months to 2 years in order to do the procurement process and then go through the transition. And that's based on my experience having done that at the state. I worked at the state when the state transitioned from Bank of America to Wells Fargo, and it was about a 2-year process, give or take, maybe 20 months or something like that. So it is definitely a path that the city could explore, and it's one that would take time to go down that path. So a couple more things. I know it's been a long day and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I wanted to circle back on some of the feedback that I received from the Finance Committee and the governing body as a whole back in September, when this contract was before you about 7 months ago. And one of the pieces of feedback and the areas of discussion that we had back at that time was about the involvement in local philanthropy that we see from banking institutions that have presence here in the community, and wanting to see Wells Fargo get more involved. with the local community and providing support, particularly to philanthropic organizations here in Santa Fe and in New Mexico in general. So I do have a list of organizations that Wells Fargo Bank has supported in the past several years that have impacted Santa Fe. United Way of North Central New Mexico is one. That's of course more broad than just Santa Fe. But one of the specific programs that the bank has supported is called Tax Help New Mexico. And that organization provides tax preparation support to low income and senior individuals. And they have an incredible track record of helping folks claim particularly federal tax refunds, but also state refunds as well. And the impact that organization has is just incredible for, a pretty marginal investment, say $100,000. They have shown that they can recoup tens of millions of dollars of federal tax refunds for the folks that they assist with tax filing. So that's just one organization. And the bank has supported United Way more broadly, but specifically called out Tax Help. Growing Up New Mexico is another organization that's active here in Santa Fe that Wells Fargo has supported, in particular the In-Home Childcare Business Accelerator Program, which is a program that supports folks who are looking to start a in-home childcare business. That, of course, is a huge need within our community. So that's good that they're supporting that. Other organizations that they've supported are the New Mexico Foundation, the Anderson School of Entrepreneurial Leadership at UNM, HomeWise, Mass Design, Southwest Association for Indian Arts, and the Santa Fe Business Incubator. They also have collaborated with the Santa Fe Community Foundation and worked with groups such as the New Mexico Funders Collaborative. So that being said, I think they can do better. I think they can do more. And I've made that clear to our partners at the bank that we'd like to see them providing local support here within the city of Santa Fe. And they let me know that there is a process by which organizations can apply to Wells Fargo. Any nonprofit organization, 501c3, can submit a grant interest form on Wells Fargo's website. It's www.wellsfargo.com/impact and request funding. And those applications opened in March of 2025 for the current funding cycle. So I would encourage those that might be listening online or might know of organizations that could use support to check out that wellsfargo.com/impact website and consider submitting an application to Wells Fargo to request funding that would come locally here to the city of Santa Fe. And with that, Madam Chair, I would love to turn it over to Councilor Lindell to take us through specific questions.
Great. Councilor Lindell pulled this item, and thank you for that overview of the history and what's going on here. So thank you, Councilor Lindell.
Thank you. My concern with this is I don't love that it's for 10 years. And we had the conversation last year. Did you say it was in October or September? I just don't feel like I see from this bank the local support and commitment and philanthropic activity that I see from other banks in this city. I know we have one local bank that commits over $500,000 a year to different projects in this city. And I don't see Wells Fargo beginning to touch that in this city. Maybe in the entire state they do, but I would like to have more pressure on them to do more philanthropic activity within the city of Santa Fe. So that's why I pulled it. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions from the committee? If not, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Is there further discussion? Can we get a roll call, please?
Certainly, Madam Chair. Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell,
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Chair Romero Worth.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. All right, we're on to item T, consideration of bill number 2025-9, adoption of ordinance number 2025 blank, sponsored by Counselor Michael Garcia, Counselor Amanda Chavez, Counselor Alma Castro, Counselor Pilar Faulkner, sorry. A bill amending section 11-14-5 of the Economic Development Fund ordinance to change the sunset date for depositing certain land sale revenues in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund from December 31st, 2025 to December 31st, 2030. Johanna Nelson is here. Counselor Michael Garcia has joined us. He's one of the sponsors. And I think Johanna just stepped out of the room. Is she? Okay. Counselor Lindell, you pulled this. Did you need her? You have a question for her? Okay. So we'll stand in place for a minute till, we can sit in place until staff returns to the chamber. Great. Director Nelson, you're up. So we have Johanna Nelson here, Director of the Office of Affordable, been a long day. Director of Office of Economic Development and the Interim Director of the Office of Affordable Housing. Counselor Lindell, you pulled this bill.
Thank you, Chair. My question on this is what is the necessity that we need to push the time frame out? What's the situation that made this necessary?
I guess staff's referring to this primary bill sponsor, Counselor Michael Garcia.
Thank you, Counselor Lindell, for the question. The necessity is we will soon be selling city property, a good number of city property, and we need to begin to really look at avenues to fund the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And that's what this does, is it allows for it to continue to be funded all the way up to 2030. And right now, it's due to sunset at the end of the year. As I mentioned, whether it's Midtown campus property or any other city property, there are some carve-outs where it doesn't apply to, such as the rail yard in Santa Fe Estates, Las Estrellas. But this just provides an opportunity to replenish our Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
So it would,
Hold on, Counselor Lindell. I've got two counselors who would like to join in and answer, if that's okay. Counselor Cassett and then Counselor Faulkner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also, when we brought this to economic development, one point that Casey Dalbor, who was representing at that moment, I don't believe Director Nelson was there, was talking about administratively that this was already going to be an adjustment that they felt that they were going to need to make. So he was saying, you know, because of the different funding sources for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, that these dollars would have gone to the Economic Development Fund. And they are really focused in on affordable housing. And so this eliminates a procedural step for them, an administrative step for staff. And Director Nelson, you can correct if I am misremembering precisely what Casey said, because he described it so much better than I did, as always.
Sure, Madam Chair, thank you so much for the question. To confirm what Counselor Cassett said, currently 50% of funds from the sale of city assets go into the Economic Development Fund, as well as the Office of Affordable Housing. And this is a great amendment to continue the term of the funding of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, because obviously affordable housing and access to affordable housing is a big issue that we're trying to collaborate on in economic development.
And if I can refer to Counselor Faulkner, did you want to?
Actually, Counselor Cassett covered it for me.
Okay, back to you, Counselor Lindell.
so You know, I do remember this and pushed on this a little bit. I guess it begs the question from me as to why are we stopping it at 2030? Why isn't it into perpetuity that we would continue to fund affordable housing with these monies?
Great question. I'm happy to make an amendment to do so. This is just an amendment to an ordinance that's already existing. And we want to make sure that it didn't sunset at the end of the year. And we thought a good 5-year timeframe to come back and see if it's necessary. Does it all need to go to economic development, some affordable housing? I mean, I think 5 years is a good time to circle back, but happy to put this into perpetuity.
I guess, yeah, I guess Counselor Lindell, my only concern about making it permanent in this moment is that we still have litigation over the excise tax. And if we are successful in that litigation, it may not be necessary to be putting this money. This money may be better spent in the Economic Development Fund. So I think, you know, maybe I was a co-sponsor on the original legislation back in 2021. And so it seems like maybe extending it a little bit longer just to see what happens might not be a bad idea. So just that thought, Counselor Faulkner.
So I will just say, as a professional lobbyist, we don't need sunset clauses necessarily to pull back on a piece of legislation. So I think there's a middle ground here. I like the idea of a sunset clause because it tells the community that we're contemplating the long-term success of this thing, and that we know that it's a dynamic situation. So, but I do want to say, like, sunset clauses aren't necessary to change law. So.
No, and that's a great point. We can change, I mean, that's our job up here, right? Is we can make changes anytime we want. I think sometimes what happens is that we forget about them. And right now, when this is, to your point, a situation in flux, it's not bad to, you know, have something that flags attention to it. But I totally agree. Generally speaking, I don't necessarily agree we need sunsets because we can revisit stuff anytime. Back to you, Counselor Lindell.
Thank you. And your point's well taken, Counselor Romero Worth. I didn't think about that when I said that, but so yeah, I suppose it can be extended in 5 years, which I hope that, you know, I hope we win the lawsuit and that that's not necessary, but your point's well taken. So thank you for everyone for your comments and on bringing.
I do have a question of staff. So am I remembering that not half? So there's been mention that there are a lot of properties that the city will be selling. Many of them are at Midtown. But for some reason, I had the impression that any money from property sold at Midtown had to stay at Midtown. Are you familiar with that? Are you aware of that?
Counselors, thank you for the question. Currently, there's no clause that specifies that sales of Midtown properties stay with the operations of Midtown.
Okay. Counselor Garcia.
Actually, that's not true. Sales do have to stay within the Midtown link. It has to be reinvested through the 2016 ordinance.
Do you
So-
have language on that?
I can pull it up because I have it. Let's see. Give me one moment and I'll pull it up.
Yeah, and if it's too hard, I'd just be curious if we can look into that. We don't need to, it's been a long day for the committee, so if it's hard to find, we can find later. I'm just curious. And maybe somebody can follow up on that.
Counselor, thank you for the question, and we'll look into that with the legal office regarding the funds go back to the Economic Development Fund, but due to the link, there are specifications that we can get clarity on.
Okay, it'd be helpful to understand the path that it takes. And I don't know, Counselor Garcia, if you put your finger on it yet. Yeah. Okay, don't
you.
worry. And it's been a long day for us and I know folks want to get going. So I would be curious about the answer or the path it takes or how it happens. Any other questions from the committee on this item?
Motion to approve.
It's a motion and a second to approve this item. Can we get a roll call, please?
Certainly, Madam Chair. Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell, Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Chair Romero Worth.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
for
you.
being here, Director.
Thank you.
Alrighty, discussion agenda. We don't have anything. Matters from staff,
None at this time.
matters from the committee. Our next meeting, of this. Sorry. Our next regular, meeting of this committee is May 12th, but our budget hearing continues tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Thank you all. We're adjourned.